Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's Global Intelligence Update. As always, we've got a great guest with us. Joining us, Lindsay Adams. And for those that don't know who he is, let me give you guys a brief introduction, and then we can jump straight into the session. Lindsay Adams is a globally recognized relationship management specialist, keynote speaker, and business consultant with over 2 decades of experience in professional speaking industry. Known as the relationship guy, Lindsay helps businesses, leaders, and consultants leverage the power of relationships to drive success, increase revenue, and enhance team performance. A past international president of the Global Speaking Federation and national president of an Professional Speaking Australia, Lindsay has been introduced into both the Australian and the Philippine Professional Speakers Hall of Fame. In 2020, he awarded the prestigious Medal of Order of Australia, OAM, for his contributions to the speaking profession. That's a big one. Lindsay is an expert in behavioral profiling, using tools like DISC, Motivators, and the Business Excellence Indicator, the BEI, for those that know that, to help professionals add another stream of income while creating greater client impact. He has helped hundreds of consultants, trainers, and speakers worldwide increase their revenue and establish themselves as a trusted expert. Lindsay, welcome.
Thank you, Chris. It's a pleasure to be here.
What a good introduction. Is there anything that I missed?
You forgot the bit with where Lindsay's incredibly handsome, and
I must have
yeah,
missed
no,
that point.
just joke.
Awesome, but
Um,
thanks for joining us. Really appreciate you being here. I know it's quite crunch time this time of the year, and yeah, we're in for quite a good session, guys. Lindsay, I'm just going to jump straight into it. I've got quite a few questions for you, but I'd like you to take us back to what's your earliest memory of realizing you could add another income stream to your business? Let's jump
so
straight
I, yeah, thank you. I've been self-employed, running my own business since the year 2000, and in that year, I had a big client called Energex. They're a power generation company, and I did a team building exercise with them, and I used a tool called the Team Management Profile. And I actually bought that instrument and just doubled the price and then on sold it to the client. And then I did the leadership team, and then they got me to do the whole division, which turned into months and months of work, which was incredible, totally unexpected and a real bonus. But the thing which, was the lesson I learned was by, using this tool, suddenly I had a big fat stream of income, which I'd never thought about before. So, happened, it was almost a total coincidence.
Wow, that's quite interesting. So with that planned strategy, then did it happen accidentally?
Well, yeah, it, I mean, I planned to use the team management profile. In fact, I was a big user of that product anyway. Uh, but the whole extra stream of income thing actually just it was an accident. It really, I didn't set out to actually deliberately go and use this as an extra stream of income. It really was an accident, but it was a very happy accident, I've got to tell you,
Yeah, I
and
can.
it's paid dividends for me over the last 20 something years.
Wow. With that, you've built quite an impressive career in speaking, training, and consulting. How did adding profiling tools like DISC and the excellence indicator change your business?
Well, it became clear to me that having this profiling tool really was a great way to make extra money. So then I started to search around and see what other profiling tools I could use. And so I became a user, I think it was about 2004, I started using DISC. And, a lot of our listeners may well be familiar with DISC. It's a four-quadrant behavioral assessment, quickly identifies people's behaviors in at work and at play. And I used that. And then I found a thing called the Business Excellence Indicator, which is a brilliant tool. It measures the non-financials in business, strategy, leadership, and culture. And that tool has again given me lots of extra revenue. So, I've always now, when I go and meet a prospect, I'm always thinking about what other tool could I sell them here? And I'd encourage our listeners to think about the same thing. Like what's what's the special sauce you can add on top, which you can charge extra money for?
Damn. So you mentioned you found it out accidentally. What was the moment you realized that this wasn't just a side income, but a serious revenue stream?
Well, that moment happened about, I think it was 18 months, 2 years later, when I sat down to do my income tax for the year and looked at my revenue streams, what I'd earned from speaking at conferences, what I'd earned from consulting and training, and what I'd earned from profiling tools. And I did my sums, and the profiling tools, the income was quite substantial. And I went, wow, this is something I hadn't planned, but it became clear to me that this was a good revenue stream. And so it's always been a part of my business ever since.
Yeah, it's very interesting, guys. So with generating revenue, what were some of the profiling tools that have worked best for you in the past?
Well, I mentioned DISC already, and I've got here's one I prepared earlier, a good old DISC assessment. These are great tools. I've used these for leadership training, for coaching, for team building. They're really, really good programs, profiling tools rather. The other one is the Business Excellence Indicator, and you can read it there. It doesn't, this little tool is a license to print money. And it measures, as I said, strategy, culture, and leadership. Now, what I've done with this one, I've gone to an existing, client that I've got a good relationship with. And the first time I found this tool, I said, look, guys, I've got this new tool. I'm just busting to try it out on someone. Can I do your leadership team for free? And they went, Lindsay, we love you. We trust you. Of course you can. So I did their leadership team, and we found all of these problems that they had within the organization. Now, typically, there are two responses when you do this. Response number one, thanks, Lindsay. We'll get on to that. Response number two, what are we going to do now? And that was the exact response I got with this client who I'd been working with for quite some time. They went, "Oh my God, we didn't know all these things were wrong. What are we going to do?" And I said, remain calm. I have a solution. And so I pitched them on a whole bunch of training and consulting interventions, which that little assignment made me $20,000 and gave me, work over the next couple of months. So that tool is a brilliant tool for anyone who has existing clients and has some expertise in either strategy, culture, or leadership, and very, very powerful. Interesting, with that tool, I worked with a prospect. They were about to spend $100,000 on customer service training because they perceived they had a problem with customer service. And I said, look, guys, can I just do a quick survey of some of your people and just see what I find? They went, sure. They didn't have a customer service problem. They had a leadership problem. They're about to waste $100,000 on customer service training. So using that tool, it's their data, which is given to you, the consultant, and you can drive then the change that happens as a result of that. It's not you going in going, oh, I think I know what your problem is. Yeah, I've got a solution for that. It's hard data which they provide you through the survey. And that's the thing that I love about it. That's probably the best example for revenue generation.
Sounds very interesting, and yeah, I would like to find. So we've spoken about three different products now, and can you break them down? How you incorporate the tools like the DISC, the Motivator, and the Business Excellence Indicator into your existing business model?
Yeah, so when I started out, in the year 2000, I did a lot of team building the first couple of years of my business. And then I morphed into leadership and manager development training. And so in those years, I did a lot of work with the DISC assessment because it was ideal for understanding people, bringing out the best in people. So when you're doing leadership training, it's perfect, to help the leaders understand themselves, but then they understand their team. And the thing which I love, if you do it with a leader, they go, oh, wow, this is incredible. I should do this with all of my team. And then that leads on to other work. And so if you go in and do a bunch of leaders in an organization, suddenly you're going to be doing all of their staff within the organization. So that's a really neat tool. With the motivators identifies what motivates you to demonstrate the behaviors you show in the DISC assessment. And there are 7 motivators. Now, with that one, it's a great tool. It's kind of the next step after DISC. So, a real life example, I worked with Sumitomo in Southeast Asia, and they had already done DISC. And I pitched them on the idea of doing this, and they went, oh, yeah, look, we've done that. I said, great, well, have you done a motivators profile? They said, what's that? So I had 23 of their leaders from across Asia come together in Singapore, and we did a 3-day workshop based on the motivators assessment, helped them identify their motivators and then what drives them to do what they do. So that was another brilliant tool. And then, of course, the business excellence indicator I sort of talked about. It's a great tool if you've already got an existing relationship. And the strategy I've used over and over, and that is just to go in and do the leadership team for free first, and then go in and, once you've done the leadership team, they want to do the rest of the organization. And so that's kind of the thin edge of the wedge, and it really expands out into a much bigger, product usage. So 3 simple tools. I've got a bunch of others, but they're the simplest ones I've got and the most powerful.
So those are the top ones. We've got a comment here from Karen asking where can we get the links to the tools?
Karen, if you drop me an email, I'll put my email address in the chat here. I can send you some samples and some information on them. Yep. So my email is lindsay@24by7assessments.com.au. Just drop me an email and go, Lindsay, give me some information. You can go to my website, 247assessments.com.au. Have a look there. But just drop me an email. And the other thing that I can do is, if you're up for it, I can have a chat with you and identify what tool will probably work best in your business. Entirely up to you.
Right. Thanks for sharing, Lindsay. Let's jump back onto profiling and revenue. Many speakers, trainers, and consultants struggle with unpredictable income, as you know. Many of the callers and live viewers know. How do profiling tools help smooth out these income peaks and troughs?
It's interesting. I spoke at a conference on the Gold Coast. I live in Brisbane on the east coast of Australia. The Gold Coast, a famous beach area, 1 hour south. Spoke at a conference there for a bunch of consultants, and I said, hands up for me, who's got roller coaster income? You're drenched in income 1 minute, and then you got nothing the next. Well, almost every hand went up in the room. And then I walked them through and showed them how I've used profiling to actually even out those peaks and troughs. And as I said to you, when I sat down 2001, 2002, and figured out just how much money I was making by using these profiling tools, for me, it became a steady stream of income. And the beautiful thing about it is that once you use a tool with a client, then they'll come back and use it again and again. So with the DISC assessments, your behavior changes over time. And so you can quite literally go back in 12 months and do it again. With the business excellence indicator, you get a baseline measurement of where they're at with their strategy, their culture, and their leadership. Then you can go and do training or consulting interventions, and you can come back in 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months time and measure again and measure the difference. And so that little tool is a beauty. One of the other tools I've used with DISC, I worked with one organization. Every new recruit did a DISC assessment. So I would go in once a month, once every other month, and work with all the new staff and teach them about themselves and their behaviors. And DISC was the language of behavior in that organization. And so that was a good steady stream of income for me, just going in monthly or bi-monthly. And the other thing I would do, of course, for all the new hires, I would say to them, okay, here's the CEO, here's your leadership team. This is where they fit. Now, when you're working with them, here's what you've got to do. Don't do this, do that, don't do that, do this. So it was a really good set them up culturally so that they fit in really quickly. And so just a couple of ideas on how you can use the profiles in different ways.
Awesome. Awesome. My next question, you've touched on this a little bit, but what are the different ways a consultant or a speaker can package and sell the profiling tool?
So they're basically every time I have a meeting with a client, I have a leather satchel that I carry with me. It's my mobile office actually, wherever I go, my laptop. I've always got some samples of profiles with me. And depending on which profile I think is appropriate, I'll take that out and show it to them on the spot while I'm meeting with them. Now, if we're meeting over Zoom, I can share screen and show them the profile. If we're meeting in person, I've got a bound version, and I always print them in full color. I always have them bound with a glossy, clear glossy cover on the front, and so I include that as part of the conversation, and I walk them through and help them understand the power of the tool right there and then. And it really it makes a big difference if you can have something at your fingertips to show them there and then. And then you can also justify the cost. Now, these things, they cost money, of course, and for some clients, they freak out when you tell them what they cost. And so you have to prove the value of the profile to justify the cost. And so by having one there, you can show them what's involved. And the other thing I'll sometimes do is actually do a complimentary assessment for the prospect. I'll say, look, in fact, I did this with a national building company here in Australia. I had the sales team manager from all of Australia, and he was, oh, I don't know about this, I don't know about this. I said, look, how about I'll do an assessment for you, and then I'll walk you through and I'll show you what we'll do in the workshop. So we got him to do a DISC assessment. I sat with him over Zoom and walked him through it, and he went, I'm sold. And they bought 35 of them like that. So another nice piece of revenue there.
Yeah. Yeah, you mentioned in a few of the previous questions that I've asked that you doubled your income on some of the assignments without asking a client for money. How exactly does that work?
So a couple of Kraken assignments. I worked with a little a theatre, a regional theatre in outside of Brisbane, and we had 35 people in the room, and they hired me for one day. Now, basically, I charged them a day rate, and then I charged them $200 for each DISC assessment, and there were 35 people in the room. So basically, I made my cost for those was $99. I doubled the price, sold them for $220, so $200 plus tax. So I made $3,500 before I'd even walked in the room. And then add that to my on top of my day rate, almost doubled my income just before I'd even opened my mouth. So that day was a good day. That was a couple of years ago. I charge a bit more than that now, but it was certainly a good day.
Awesome. And just to touch back on the previous question as well, for those who feel hesitant about selling, how can they position these tools as value-added solutions rather than just another sale?
Yeah, I think it's about demonstrating the value and helping the client understand the outcomes that they'll achieve if they use the profiling tool. And one of the things, because I basically I'm now, I started off just as a user, as a retailer, and then I got so into it, I became a wholesaler, a distributor for some of these tools. And so basically, I buy them, I sell them to my clients at a wholesale price, and I give them a recommended retail, which is essentially double what you pay for them. Now, here's the beauty. You can go to a client and you say, let's use this tool. It'll cost $200 per person. And they go, oh, Lindsay, $200. Oh, we've got 20 people. That's going to be a deal breaker. We add that on top of your fee. Oh, I don't know about that. Because you've got that nice margin, you can adjust the price. So you can say, look, dear client, I've got a very good relationship with my supplier and they owe me a favor. Let me see what I can do. And you go back a day or so later and you say, look, I've been able to cut a bit of a deal. Instead of $200, we'll do it for 150. How would that work? Oh, that's much better. Yeah, we'll take that. And so, yep, you've lowered your income a bit, but you've still got some revenue coming in and you still get to use the tool. And remembering that the quality of the tool is adding so much to the outcome of the workshop, the presentation that you're doing. And so it's really about the value add that makes a big difference.
Yeah. So it is about the value. Um,
Um,
then another big one is credibility. How does using the assessment elevate a consultant or a speaker's credibility in the business world?
Yeah, there's so many people out there, in the training, speaking, consulting, coaching field, and some of them, have university qualifications, some of them have accreditations. So having a tool or tools in your kit bag to sell them adds to your level of credibility. So I used to work once upon a time in the tax office here in Australia. I've got half an accounting degree. If anybody would like half an accounting degree, I'll happily give it to you. But it means nothing. I can't go and say, "Oh, I've got half an accounting degree." It doesn't count. However, I can go to them and say, "Look, I have access to a range of behavioural assessment tools which will help solve your problem." It brings huge credibility, and so having something extra in your kit bag adds to your credibility, and it sets you apart from other people in the marketplace. Now, if you want, you can become accredited in these tools, but you don't have to. So there are some suppliers in the marketplace who say you must be accredited, and before you can use our DISC assessment, you have to pay $3,000 to become accredited. With the supplier that I use, doesn't matter. You want to use the assessments? We just want to sell assessments. So that's basically what they do. So there's no extra cost to you in the business.
Well, thanks for sharing, Lindsay. Then also, let's jump into the objections and the challenges. What are the biggest objection you hear from consultants and trainers about using the profiling tools, and how do you address them?
So one of the biggest objections I've just talked about, actually, I'm getting ahead of myself, it's the accreditation piece. You may have, our listeners may have heard of the Human Brain Dominance Indicator, HBDI. Last time I inquired in Australia, to be accredited in HBDI was 5,000 plus tax, so $5,500. And then they have a minimum spend of 5,000 Australian dollars per year. So if you want to begin using their product, you're up for 10 grand plus tax, so $11,000. That's a huge hurdle to jump, and it's a huge no-no, for a consultant. So the biggest objection when I talk to consultants is I say, yeah, well, how much is this going to cost me to start? And a low entry product is a much better product than where you've got to pay a fee. So that's one of the biggest ones. The next thing is, I'm not experienced in using DISC or Motivators or the Business Excellence Indicator. What do I do now? With the products that I sell, we have a backup training area hidden away. You have your own user account. You have your own username and login. You go into that account, And in a secret password protected area, there's a whole bunch of training resources available to my clients. And so that really overcomes the problem of I've not used this before. I don't know what to say, or I won't know what to say. So for example, with the DISC assessment, there's a 2-hour training program. There's a lesson plan. There's PowerPoint slides. There's a 35-page debrief booklet which teaches you how to do a debrief if you've never done one before. And so those resources overcome those fears that a lot of people come to me with initially.
Yeah, I think you just answered Karen's question there as well. She's asking, do you get training on how to use the outcomes tools?
One
Perfect.
step ahead of you, Karen.
Then jumping into the tools itself, are there any upfront costs or barriers to entry when getting started with these tools?
So basically, you pay for the tool. Now, with the business excellence indicator, this is an interesting one. It's to get in to be able to use this tool. It's $5,000. However, once you pay that fee, you can do as many assessments as you like for a period of 12 months. And so it becomes very economical. So I had another tool which I used to distribute. This one's Australian based. The other one was a US based tool. And the cost of that tool was $30. So you convert that into Rand, you convert that into pesos, convert it into, well, pick your currency. It's expensive when you add up a lot of people. So if you're working in an organization where you've got 200 people and you multiply 200 by $30, now that's your cost price. So you might want to add a margin on that, to make a little bit of money. It becomes very expensive. The beauty of the business excellence indicator is you can do 200 staff and there's no per head charge. And you can do it again and again and again. So 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months time. And if you do one business excellence indicator survey, I guarantee you'll get your money back and more. The first time I ever tried it, I made 20 grand. So that one costs a little bit to get through the door, but your return on investment is big. DISC assessment, motivators. I've got another one called learning styles. There's emotional intelligence. I've got a critical thinking profile. They're all $99. So they're quite economical. The biggest barrier to entry is simply the user fee for the tool.
So we've mentioned quite a few tools and quite a lot of tips and insights. How can someone that's new to integrating to integrate profiling tools into their business without overwhelming themselves?
I think you're going to have to do what I did, and that's start small, and then once you gain confidence, you get better and better at it. So I started off. I did my first DISC assessment I learned about in 2004, and I did a small team. There were 10 people in the company, and it was for me, I was like tentative steps. I had done a lot of reading on it. I had another a consultant trainer friend who was already using DISC who gave me some clues. And I did one workshop and that worked. And I went, wow, actually, I think I can do this. And the more I did it, the easier it became and the better I became at it. And the more powerful the insights were because you begin to understand the reports. Now, this DISC report, there's 40 pages in this report. Now, it's split into 3 sections. So the first section is all about the report, the model, all about DISC. The second section is all about the individual. And there's about, what would there be, it's about 15 pages about the individual. And then the rest of the report is about mental blank, understanding others and adaptability. So it's how do you adapt to be like other people to make the most of the information you've now got. And so for me, getting my head around the second section, the individual, was my first priority. Yeah. Then I got my head around the adaptability. And so start small. build your confidence, and then go from there. And so once I learned DISC, I then went on to the motivators. And then, I found out about the business excellence indicator. And that one is really simple. And because of my background, because of the amount of team building and leadership and manager development and other training I'd done, I already had a lot of ready skills to implement when the problems were identified in a company, whether it be strategy or culture or leadership. I had the tools in my kit bag to say, I've got a solution for you. And so start small, build confidence, and gradually add more tools to your kit bag.
Awesome. No, thanks for sharing. We've covered quite a lot. What's your advice for someone here right now, or maybe listening to the recording, who's thinking, this sounds great, but where do I start?
Well, you can do what I suggested earlier, and that's drop me an email, and I can book you in for a quick a free assessment. And basically, what I'll do is talk to you about your business and understand what you do, and then I'll match up the best profile for you. And I've done this. I'm getting quite good at it in terms of identifying the best product. And I think if you can take a product to market which fits your business, then it becomes complementary, and it's a bit like a hand in glove process. So it works really well. So drop me an email, Lindsay at 24x7assessments.com.au. And I'll happily book a time when we can get together.
Right. Great. And so that would be the first step of adding another income stream as well. Or what would be the
Absolutely, yeah.
step on adding an extra stream on that?
So sorry, say that again.
So no, Lindsay, so I'm saying, would that also be the first step if you want to add an extra income stream?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, sorry. Yes, cool. So, I think we need to be looking out. We can't live by one stream of income alone. My model has always been speaking, coaching, consulting. And so, I speak at conferences, and then I do some coaching, and that might get me into a speaking opportunity, or I might do some consulting, which leads me into a speaking opportunity or a training opportunity. And I'll give you a real life example. I started off coaching the general manager from a hospital here in Brisbane, and I was just coaching him one-on-one. And he was having trouble with his executive. So then I went along to an executive meeting, and I started working with his executive, and there were 8 people on his executive. And from there, that led me into a large change management project, which led me to working in that organization for 3 years. To the point, Chris, where I went to the cafeteria one day, and the young girl behind the counter served me my coffee, and she looked at me and she said, "You're staff, aren't you?" And I smiled. I said, "Well, yeah, kind of." She said, "Great, you get a discount." And I got a 10% discount off my coffee. But see, here's the thing. I started off coaching, and which led to a consulting piece, which led to a big change management piece. Now, along the way, that hospital, they do a big event each year for their nursing staff. And they have a little, like an internal conference. And so the first year they did it, they said to me, "Lindsay, would you speak at that event?" And I went, "Yeah, sure, I'd love to." So, I got some more fees out of that. The next year they said, "Look, Lindsay, we love you, but we had you last year." And I said, "That's okay. I've got friends. I've got my mate Chris from South Africa. He'll Zoom in, and he'll do a presentation for you." I help them organise some other speakers. And so, one thing leads to another, and one feeds off the other. So you can't live by one stream of income alone. And so having then an income stream that comes from some sort of tool, profiling tool, could make all the difference in your business. And I'd encourage everyone who's listening to think about, or my challenge or my question to you is, do you have another stream of income apart from your main source at the minute? And if you don't, then I want you to seriously think about what could that be? If you if you were going to add another stream of income, what would it be for you? And if you're not sure, give me a shout. I'm more than happy. Now, to be fair, I market a range of tools, so I'm going to tell you and show you what I've got. But that's not all I'm going to talk to you about. I'm going to talk to you about what fits your business best. Now, I met with two of my speaker buddies here in Brisbane. I did a presentation like this. They contacted me, and they've gone and created their own management development game. So they've created a board game, and that's their extra stream of income now. And I'm thrilled to bits to see how successful they are. I've got another mate in Singapore who has created a leadership a quiz, which he sells as part of his program. And again, inspired by listening to this presentation. So, I'm really keen just to share the love, because I know that what worked for me will work for you. It doesn't have to be my product. It can be any product. But I want you to start thinking. I really want to challenge your thinking here. What could be that? What that could be? What could that be? Goodness me, got a big knot tied in my tongue. What could that be for you?
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that, Lindsay. I've got a few more questions left, then we can jump over to chat, the live listeners. And just jumping back onto the profiling tools, looking ahead, how do you see the future of profiling tools evolving in the consulting and training industry?
It's getting really interesting. There's a lot of AI stuff out there, and automation and access are the two big things with the profiling tools now. And so what I've done with my clients is I've got them all set up with their own user account. And the reason I called the business 24/7 was because they can access that account 24/7. And so ease of access and ease of use is a real critical piece. And so you get your own username and password, you log into your account any old time. Once you're in that account, you can buy one assessment, you can buy 10, you can buy 20, you can buy 100, you can buy 1,000, you can buy any combination you like, and you can do it 24/7. So, some of my clients ring up, they love to have a chat. Hey, Lindsay, how are you, mate? Good to hear, blah, blah, blah. I need some more assessments. Can you put some in my account? Other people send me a text. Others will WhatsApp me. Or people just go in and buy them online. And that's the beauty of the system. They're all there available any old time, And so if it's 11 o'clock at night and you go, oh my goodness, I can't ring Lindsay now, he'll be fast asleep. Just go into the account and there they are. And so the convenience factor is a really critical piece, I think, in terms of the future of assessments. The next thing is the automation, and that is the assessments have got to be easy for your client to use. And so with the system that I've got, basically, the client gets a hyperlink. You send them a set of instructions with a link. They click on the link, and then as soon as they hit finish, the report is available. Now, there are two ways you can deal with that report. What I do, I get the reports myself and I compile them. Now, it depends where I go. If it's a face-to-face workshop, I'm going to bind them and make them look pretty, and I'll take them to the workshop. If we're doing an online workshop, then I'll email them out during that workshop and we'll work through the details together. And so, but the critical piece here is the convenience factor for the client. And so they're easy to access, easy to complete, and you can have results really quickly. And I think that's a real critical piece. And so the other thing I think for the future is to think about the additional stream of income. And I think that's a critical piece.
Well, thanks for sharing, and that's so cool, Lindsay. And before we jump over to chat, if there's any questions, guys, you're more than welcome to drop them in chat or get ready to unmute yourself. Where can people learn more about you, your work, and the assessments you recommend? All the social info.
So you can go and have a look at my website, 24x7assessments.com.au. You can send me an email, lindsay@24x7assessments.com.au. Really simple. You can find me on LinkedIn. Look for Lindsay Adams. Thanks, Chris. I see you put the web link in there. Um, so you can go there and give me a shout. Let's have a chat. I'm here to serve.
Yeah. We've got a good question here from Steve. Hi, Steve. Hi, Lindsay. I know that many of the modern day psychometric profiling tools are based on the I Ching, the old Chinese book of changes. Do you have a preference or experience on which to use versus which not to? DISC, Myers-Briggs, Enneagram, Strength Finders, etc.
Good question, Steve. And there's a lot of ins and outs in there. Now, I've been using DISC. I'm also used Myers-Briggs and the Enneagram. I haven't used StrengthsFinder. Each of them brings something to the table. Now, I started off, I was first accredited in the Myers-Briggs type indicator when I worked in government. So that's a long time ago, 25 years and more ago. And I love MBTI. It's a very clever 16-fold model. But here's the problem. It's a 16-fold model. There's a lot to remember. And you're probably aware that, you end up with a 4-letter combination. So me personally, I'm an INTJ or an INFJ. It depends. Now, I've done workshops or I've talked to a prospect and they go, "Oh, I've done MBTI before." And I go, "Oh, right. Can you recall what your 4-letter combination is?" They go, "Yeah. I'm an INXZ." I go, "Small problem there. X and Z aren't part of the equation." "Oh, aren't they?" "Oh, or the other one, of course, is when you're an IN whatever, introvert starts with I, but there's intuitive, and intuitive represented by the letter N. So there's more confusion. So it can be a confusing model. It is fairly complex, and people struggle to recall the details easily. Now, I'm going to jump straight onto DISC. We've talked about DISC a lot. DISC is a 4-fold model. It's very simple to understand, and people get it really quickly, which I love. I've been doing a lot of work with DISC over many years. Enneagram, the next one. I just took the Enneagram test again the other day. Have we got any Enneagram experts in the room? Chuck an N in the chat if we've got any Enneagram experts. I'm just going to find my result. I was talking to a mate of mine in America, and he had just done it, and he encouraged me to do it. I came out as a 4, I think it was. I just can't find my notes. And so here's the problem with the Enneagram. It's huge. It's esoteric. It's complicated. It does your head in. So me personally, I steer well clear of the Enneagram. Now, I've got some great mates in South Africa. Some of you may have heard of Joni Petty. She's a guru on the Enneagram, loves it. She knows it backwards. I am so jealous of her expertise. She's been doing it for years and years, and I haven't. So it's a bit of horses for courses. Now, StrengthsFinder, really good tool. Again, I haven't had a lot of experience with StrengthsFinder. I have done one assessment a long time ago. So my experience lays more on the other side with DISC and MBTI, but each of them I think is relevant depending on the client you're working with. And so again, it comes down to your level of knowledge, your expertise, and then what the client wants. Now, clients come to me and they say, "Oh, I want to do an MBTI for my team." And I go, "Okay, we can do that. Why have you chosen that model?" "Oh, well, I did that years ago and I really enjoyed it." I go, "Okay, fantastic. We can do that, and it'll cost, this much. Have you had a look at DISC? Are you familiar with DISC?" "Oh, that old thing." I go, "Yeah, let me talk to you about that old thing." And then I walk them through and show them the simplicity. And so again, sometimes they go, "Yep, well, that's lovely, Lindsay, but I still want to do MBTI." Happy days, that's what we do. So again, it comes down to what the client wants and what fits the situation the best. So challenging question there, Steve. I hope that gives you some clarity.
Yeah. Well, thanks for the question, Steve. If there's anyone else in the chat, and that would be a great time. Either unmute or just send us a message in chat. Looks like that's it. Awesome. Thank you, Lindsay, and thank you for the live listeners that have been here today. We really appreciate you guys being here, and of course, Lindsay being here, sharing a lot of insights, a lot of advice and profiling tools. Guys, if you haven't checked him out yet, please connect with him on LinkedIn. And if you want to check out his website, let me just read that out for you, www.24x7assessments.com.au. And you'll reach Lindsay. Lindsay,
I got
yeah.
to share a secret with you. I thoroughly regret putting that X in there. Because when you say 24 by 7, I know what it means, but a lot of other people don't. Anyway, you live and you learn.
Yeah, it's one of those things, eh? Yeah,
That's it.
saying thank you. Adila saying thank you. It's all a pleasure, guys. I hope you guys have a great week ahead. Lindsay, thanks again. And everyone, we'll see you again next week. Thanks for tuning in. Cheers, everyone.
Thanks for having me,
Thank
guys.
you. Thanks very much.